It's time for you to renew, rejuvenate, and re-energize. This is the Wellness Travel BC podcast, keeping you connected with what's trending in wellness travel from around the province. Here's your host, Cheryl McKinnon.
Hi, my name is Cheryl McKinnon, and I'd love to welcome you to our podcast, Wellness Travel BC. We're continuing our series here in Harrison and Harrison Mills, a beautiful pocket in British Columbia. I'm joined today by the Executive Director of Tourism Harrison. We're going to talk about what it means to the community to be well and healthy, and why they are so excited about what the future holds as they engage more visitors to come and get away, decompress, recharge, and leave feeling like $1 million. Robert, I am so delighted to welcome you back to the show. It's just fabulous to see you.
And it's great to be here. Good to see you again.
You're looking well, my friend. So obviously wellness is thriving out in this part of the world.
Absolutely. I mean, Harrison has a very long history, as you know. I mean, we were the first resort in BC. And right from the get-go, it's always been known as the healing spot of Canada. That was actually its brand name for years and years and years as well. So, you know, it is a place people come to relax and to heal their bodies and minds.
No, I didn't know that. That was like way before our time.
Oh, no, absolutely. Way before our time. I mean, the resort's been there since 1890, or something like that. And for a long time, it was the one resort in BC. It had the hot springs, of course, and they are known to heal. And in those days, you could get away with advertising that was a little bit edgy. And it healed everything from, you know, common colds to arthritis to whatever you might have, it could heal it. That said, people still swear by it today, that you get into those hot springs and you come out feeling younger, you come out feeling healthier, and you come out feeling invigorated.
There are days when I hear things like that I think I'd like to just move my office to a healing hot spring, right? It just, because they do heal, and you know that it's one of our most favorite places to escape. It's so easy to get out here. Let's talk about that a little bit, because you say going back to the 1890s, that's the village of Harrison, right?
That's right.
But coming in from various points around the province, the accessibility here, easy? Absolutely.
So 100 years ago, it was a little more difficult. You either came in by train, because the train did go by through Agassiz, and then you took some kind of cart, horse-drawn cart of some kind. These days, it's a lot easier. It's a 90-minute drive from Vancouver and 3 hours from Seattle. Those are our two big markets. 3 hours from the interior, and you're in Harrison. So it's, you know, great highways, easy access, and you're here in no time. What's beautiful about Harrison is, even though it's only a short drive, you're in just a different world. It's nestled between two mountains. It's at the end of a 60-kilometer long lake. It has the Harrison River joining right in, basically just outside Harrison as well, one of the most beautiful rivers in BC. It's just, you know, a different world that's easily accessible. So that's really what makes Harrison so special.
Well, and also, you know, following in the vein of the once you're here and what you're feeling, it just oozes wellness. If you think of wellness in terms of decompressing and getting away, just a change of scenery is a refresher.
Absolutely.
The funky stores, the museum, all that stuff. Talk a little bit for us what you can actually do here if you want to firm up the body, you want to get out, you need to, that's your idea of being well as a hiker, whatever. Because there's so much here.
So, you know, what we really promote in Harrison is hiking, biking, and paddling. And what we love about those things, because I'm an avid hiker, outdoorsman myself, and what I love about Harrison is that it's one of those few places where you can actually go hiking and you're in nature and you're not, you know, surrounded by 1,000 other people with ghetto blasters or, you know, whatever they might be doing. You actually are out there by yourself and, you know, really coming into contact with nature in a very intimate and real way. So that's one of the things that's, you know, a little bit different, a little bit special about Harrison. There's lots of places to hike in BC, but around our location, you're one-on-one with nature. So besides hiking, we have some great biking. I particularly like flat biking, so we've got lots of the Fraser Valley near us that allows you to go and visit the farms. We have Circle Farm Tour, which a lot of people bike, and it's a great way to just get out, see where your food's coming from, and at the same time, you don't have to worry about climbing any mountains. And then paddling is another fantastic, maybe a bit of a not as well known around Harrison. But what's lovely about the paddling in Harrison, we have the Harrison River. It's a short river, 20 kilometers long, but it's the first designated salmon stronghold in BC, and it's that for a reason. It's one of the few rivers that has all 5 species of salmon. It has in November up to 10,000 bald eagles that come and feast on those salmon as they come to spawn. And if you paddle through there at that time of the year, it's one of the most incredible experiences you can have. Bald eagles, above you, salmon swimming by you. It's just a beautiful, beautiful paddle.
It is. And, I listened to you describing this, and I can't help but think of the numerous times that we've been out here, and we've never done the bike tour. That's something I'd love to talk about a little bit more, just more on the food side of it, because this area is really known for that farm to table, organic just by nature. Never mind that they have to make sure it's labeled that way. It's always been that way out here, hasn't it?
Absolutely, and I mean the restaurants have embraced that. So a lot of the restaurants offer farm to table kind of menu items, which is fantastic. But what's lovely is there's this self-guided farm tour that's been operating for I think 17 years now, the Circle Farm Tours. It actually started in Agassiz, which is just outside of Harrison, mm-hmm. and it offers you a unique way of seeing farms in action, and it varies from everything from we have the farmhouse cheese shop. We have a coffee, an organic coffee maker. We have just a wide variety of farm products that you can, and they're all in a nice little circuit with a self-guided tour. You can get on your bike, or if it's raining, get in your car, and go visit these places and talk to the people producing the food and really learn about where your food's coming from, how it's been grown or developed, and it's just an incredible experience. People really love it, and it's one of the favorite things of people coming to Harrison for them getting out and seeing what's going on in our area.
And it speaks so much to overall wellness, because what we put in is vitally important to long-term well-being. We were talking in one of our other shows with Ted Swain from Sandpiper Resort, and we were talking about how that sense of well-being, which the UN has 17 achievable goals by 2030, which you and I have talked about, and the third one, which is just astounding, I think it should be number one, is the well-being and health of people, planet, and all creatures. And you've got it right here out your back door. You must just shake your head and go, hello.
Well, it's true, and it's interesting. This year we have a new experience for people. It's just starting. It's become quite trendy. It started in Japan, and it's called forest bathing.
I was going to ask you about it. You nailed it.
Finally, somebody's actually taken that on as a business. So we have a young woman who started a business that's all about forest bathing. She takes groups out, takes them into the forest, explains some of the history of the forest, some of the biology of the forest, and then really focuses on how to rejuvenate yourself by proper breathing and relaxation in a forest setting, because the forest is putting out all these micronutrients into the air. You breathe them in, they make you healthier. There's been a fair amount of research done on this, and I'm really pleased to see that somebody's picked it up as something to start a business with, and it's I think we're one of the few places offering it in BC.
You are indeed. I can tell you with what we've been developing around Wellness Travel BC, we have actually strategically targeted that forest bathing as a term because of where we live in British Columbia. The forest is pretty much any door you walk out
Absolutely.
of, from the Kootenays to northern BC, all the way down to where we're sitting right now. And so that's delightful to hear. One of the other interesting things that I think Harrison and the region offers is the Indigenous aspect as well, integrating the cultures that have been here and understood forest bathing, where I have many friends with different nations who say, gosh, my grandma talked about that. It's what we do to heal ourselves when we're frustrated with the world. And as the world embraces where we live in British Columbia, I think that aspect of the landscape of our province, yes, our country, but I'm speaking specifically about British Columbia, and Harrison in particular, you offer up just that ideal immersion into every aspect you could think of well-being.
For sure. And I mean, the Indigenous one's an interesting one, and it's also something that we've been trying to focus on and further develop. So we work quite closely with Stehalis. One of our tour companies, Harrison Eco Tours, they actually have a product that they work with the Stehalis band, and a couple of young Stehalis First Nations guys get out on their kayaks and lead a group and basically teach people everything about the river and what it means to First Nations, but also a lot of the history, because there's a lot of petrographs and all those kind of interesting things. They lead this group down the river for a day, teaching them everything that's relevant and interesting about the history of First Nations in our area, how they use the river, what the salmon and the sturgeon mean to them as, from a historical but also from a present day perspective. And so that's a great experience. We also have Sasquatch Days, which is a war canoe race that happens in Harrison. And part of that is there's always a number of sort of events that they include with it, and one of them is going through the forest and learning about all the medicinal herbs and plants that are in the forest. They'll take groups out to teach them from an Indigenous perspective. This is what the forest has to offer, and it's more than just looking at nice trees. There's actually ways to heal yourself in there.
There is indeed, and as you said, there's nothing like just standing there, listening to the peace of the quiet, the wind
Absolutely.
blowing through the trees. It's almost cathartic, isn't it? When you have a very stressful time and you just walk outside and walk in the forest, you feel like $1 million afterwards. Yep. And you've got it literally right out your front door.
We got a lot of forest.
You do. So you were talking about yourself being a hiker and enjoying your backyard. How long have you been out this way?
It's been 20 years now, so I've explored pretty much every mountain in our area, and there are some great hikes for sure.
And you wouldn't leave?
No. It's one of the things that brought me out here in the first place. Love the hiking, love biking, and the paddling's just superb. So, no, nothing's going to drag me away from here.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I've been sharing with Gail Morris, my business partner and longtime friend in our program for wellness for the province, that we actually, my husband and I and family, have often contemplated moving out here. As you well know, it's one of my personal favorite getaways. And it is for that. Sadly, of course, too much work in the city, so that 90-minute commute, some days you think, okay, that's a good 3 hours. I don't think I could do that every day. But if I could work and live here, I'd be here tomorrow. I envy you.
And it's funny that you say that, because there are quite a group of people that actually do that commute. It's quite, it's worth it to them to live in such a relaxing and quiet place, and do a bit of a commute to wherever they have to work. So it
you're
works
encouraging me?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Okay, well, I'm open to all possibilities, so we'll put it maybe back on the table. Well, I have to tell you, this has been so enjoyable. I never tire hearing about this beautiful place, and I love sharing it, as you know, with our audience near and far. And I think as we go to wrap up this really interesting session on wellness and what it means to Harrison, is there a nugget that's sticking out in your mind right now that if you were to say to somebody who's, I don't know, I can do that over here, what am I going to really feel like when I leave? Anything that comes to mind?
I would just go back to, and this is, for me, why I ended up in Harrison, is that, sure, there's forest everywhere and there's hiking everywhere, but when you come to Harrison, you have, the ability to get out into the wilderness, be on your own, truly come into contact with nature. And then as an added bonus, when you come back into Harrison Village, you jump into the hot springs and rejuvenate your soul just one step further. You cannot beat that.
Oh my, I just got goose pimples. I love it, because that's exactly what you do, and I couldn't agree more, Robert. Thank you so much for sharing time with us today. It's a pleasure as always, and you can be sure we're going to be back very soon. We are really grateful for your time and your passion on this destination called Harrison. And for more information, please do visit us at wellnesstravelbc.com. We've got a beautiful section all about Harrison Hot Springs, Harrison Mills, this area. Robert mentioned Agassiz, which is just on the border as well. It's just a fabulous getaway where one can truly recharge and re-energize and basically just unplug. So thanks, Robert.
Well, thank you. I love sharing.
We know it, and it's clearly obvious. So look forward to welcoming you back again in a very short season away.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thank you.
Cheers.